Hello and welcome to this game review. So here you played quite an active game and beat your opponent right after the opening with a strong attack on the light squares. So there is a bit to discuss anyway. So you played this knight c6 variation, which is supposed to not be very good, but it's playable. And especially after c3 it's very good because of e5. So you're well prepared, and already white has to find a good way to keep the balance. So bishop b5, and you mentioned this move is not mentioned in your course. Well, you can add the variations to the course yourself, right? And this will happen often. There will always be variations that are not mentioned in the course, so you can do your own analysis, turn on the edge and try to figure out what exactly is the best course of action here. And for the next time, if someone plays this again, you will know, maybe even the same opponent at some point. So you took, and yeah, here bishop b4. So yeah, this was kind of the only mistake in this game, and it seems you're kind of overthinking at this point. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind is to take. It does improve the opponent's knight, and here he has an I2p, which you cannot take instantly, though I guess you kind of could. And you could, after bishop b4, force him to play knight c3, right? Otherwise he loses the pawn. And you get exactly what you wanted anyway, which is quick development. And black seems to be doing very fine here. So you mentioned you tend to do this error against low-rated players, trying to prove something in the first 10 moves. But you have to remember that chess is not a game you can kind of win by force, right? If the opponent doesn't do anything horrible, you can't win, right? So it's not like the opponent has terribly misplayed the opening and got a lost position, right? He just made a few inaccuracies with c3 and bishop b5. It's not like you can win with black because of a few inaccuracies. Generally, to win a game, we need more mistakes. And here, you shouldn't really try to prove anything. And here you allowed him to play e5, which gets white a very good structure. This structure usually arises from the Scotch gambit. For context, there is this opening here, 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 e5, d5, and I guess something like this usually happens. This is one way to do it, and sometimes black takes on d4 at some point, or there's other ways to get into this, but I won't delve too deeply into it. But this is considered a decent structure for white. If he gets to consolidate play f4, he will have a 4-on-3 majority on the king side, and he will be able to attack the black king, while black has to play c5, which is not very easy to organize. So knight e7, a3, bishop a5, and a few moves later you played bishop b6, and you mentioned you're moving the bishop 3 times, which is generally not good, which is true, but at this point you don't really have a choice, right? The bishop is not doing anything here. We don't really want to take the knight. This would help him develop, and now he has the bishop there as well, and a potential attack on the dark squares would be horrible for us. So even though you're moving the bishop 3 times, you have developed the other pieces, so it's not like you will get checkmated right away. So he plays knight b3, which is generally a bit incorrect. I guess white should be trying to play on the king side. I guess at this point he should actually defend the pawn. Okay, knight b3, f6, which is the correct approach. We need counterplay. And yeah, a5, a6 are also possible moves, but f6 is ultimately the point. And now we have this structure, which is quite interesting. White has a weakness on d4, but currently it's quite easy to defend, and a lot of pieces will defend it. So this is not really where we have to focus our efforts. But we do have the open f-file, which we realized which kind of means we should be playing on the king side. This is what happened. You developed the queen to f8, which is a very nice square to go to f7. So it seems you felt quite good about where the pieces belong. White continued going to the queen side, and now we can really be thinking about an attack. Because for an attack to be successful, we need more attackers than defenders. And with this move, white has removed one of the defenders. So now he basically has one, and kind of the queen is also a defender, so 2 defenders. we have currently 3 attackers. Well, the knight is about to go here, right? The bishop is also looking here, so maybe 4. And if we get the rook here, then it's 5 as well, right? These 2 pieces for the moment cannot really help in the attack, but in the future, if c6, bishop c7 happens, then the attack will be winning just because of the amount of pieces in the attack and the white pieces being on the queen side. So queen f7 is a nice move. So yeah, you're allowing the knight to move, also vacating the square for the rook, and the queen can come out like this. A very nice move. Queen d2, and yeah, you felt this move was wrong, and now he doesn't control the g4 square, which is quite an interesting intuition, because I do agree that the white queen generally should be trying to control some kind of light squares, because black's attack is probably going to happen on the light squares, because this bishop is active and this one cannot help. So the queen going to d2 means that these squares have been kind of weakened. So okay, a6, knight f5, knight e7, and yeah, here you mentioned there was this better move, knight h4, but it's not terribly obvious. It does require some calculation. You are giving up the pawn on d5, bishop e6, and here there is a very strong threat of knight f3. For example, after d5, check and check, bishop g5, otherwise it's checkmate. And at this point, black has a couple of moves. It's clear that black can just get the piece back, but somehow black is even winning. Knight e5. And now that this piece is also in the game, the knight is also in the game, black has 4 attackers against 1 defender, which will soon probably be eliminated. So this is good enough to win. But of course, white shouldn't blunder knight f3. He can play queen d1. And judging something like this is not very easy. We are down a pawn after all. We do have a good attack, but you shouldn't really blame yourself for not finding this. It's not very obvious. But what we could do is bishop e6. And the reason this is a better move than this is because when we try to improve our pieces, we should start with the pieces that are the worst, right? The worst piece is this one. And the only way for it to be developed is to develop the bishop. So even though the bishop maybe doesn't want to go to e6, we don't care about the bishop. We're looking at the whole position. The whole position requires that the rook is joined. And once the rook goes to f8, then the bishop can start thinking about something else. This knight can start hopping around. But first, we have to try to improve as many pieces as possible with as little moves as possible. So okay, this happens. Yeah, knight c1 is a bit strange, and now knight h4 happens. And rook g6. Yeah, apparently knight g2 already is winning, which just shows how important it is to attack on the light squares. After this, king h1, bishop h3, threatening this. And importantly, the white rooks are not connected. After rook g1, for example, we can take and go give checkmate, because after bishop g5, we're of course getting the piece back with an ongoing attack, with weaknesses for white all around the place. So knight g2 is a nice forcing move to consider, and the variations are not terribly difficult, so this was already kind of a knockout. But okay, this is fine as well. And here he plays bishop h5, but as we already understand, even if he takes this rook, we don't care at all, because everything is happening on the light squares, especially after this. And yeah, white should probably do something like f4 as mentioned, but this position looks horrible, not only because he is down in exchange, but all of his pieces are badly placed. All the light squares are weak, even if he has a light squared bishop and we don't, still we are dominating the light squares. And now we can get back to even attacking this, and c5 at some point will probably crush the opponent. But bishop h5 happened, and you played knight f3, which is a nice move, finishing the game. And checkmate on the board. So quite a good win here. Quite decent time management, as you felt the game might not last until the end game. So we should be using our time here because we're on the attack. And if the attack succeeds, we will not need the time anymore. Right? So quite a good game. And yeah, the forcing moves calculation did seem to help, as even if there weren't any very difficult tactics that you found here, it did encourage you to play more actively than usual, attacking the opponent's king and succeeding, as It is the correct thing to do in the position, so it makes sense that it works out. So, good game, and good luck next time.